begin Viachad Lebebenu to unite our hearts. We're up to Dalit. Friedrich Rebbe before was explaining about mute and the Schalkus, idea of Seviv and Mamali, the differences between them. So we continue on Dalit. You want to understand what we just said. We're going to give an example of the powers and the revelations of the soul. Nefesh is the soul. So in the soul itself, you have many levels. The Alter Rebbe says in Tanya, the fundamental work of Chassidus, most essential, Chamisha Chumshe Torah of Chassidus is Tanya. So over there in Tanya it says that the Eser Keiches and Nefesh, 10 faculties of the soul. So they all come from the Eser Spheres. The 10 faculties are corresponding to the 10 spheres. So too in the soul you have many levels and many separations. Because when it comes to the first level, Chokhmah, which is wisdom, this is very, very, very refined light. But Bina, which is to the next level of Chokhmah, after Chokhmah, which is to develop the wisdom, the light is not there as much as the Chokhmah was. And it's not as so much refined. Yeah, many, as it's known, the raging river, and it always continues going, but it not necessarily is it refined as the oil of the Chokhmah. And to break it down, generalities, there are two levels of bringing down the energy of the life force of the soul into the soul. So when a soul gets revitalization, to live on, to continue with the kochos every day. For example, you're waking up, it's a new kochos that you have. So, but this kochos, you have two levels of kochos. We're going to explain. Aleph u'koch prati is the first one that we're going to say is the individualistic one. Individualistic powers that go to each sinew and each finger, each structure of the bone, and it's permeating into that limb. Every single limb has its own use and uniqueness. The second level of power that can be given to the soul from higher than the soul is a level that is not going into the body per se. It's not being mislabish to being clothing into the actual physical individual sinew, bone marrow. Rather, it's a chayas kololi. It's a general chayas shemer b'kol kochos ve'ivar mishava that shines in all the potentials and the limbs in order to move. It's the surrounding life force. And not only that, it's also every single thing is equal to each other. The toe is as much life force as the head. Being that these two ways, which is number one, the chayas, this life force of the soul, and then you have the chayas kloli, then the generality of energy, that person feels himself. So this thing, these two ways that a person feels himself, from his head to his toe, then all the kochos come together at one. So being that these two come down, however, they have the same cause, the same root, the same place to go to. However, they themselves are exact opposites. What's the difference between them? The chayes are kochos imshachim mehelam alagili uteluyim me'agdos evarim shemakim uzuchusam. When it comes to this specific energy that goes to the limbs, so that's dependent on the growth and based on the structure and how it is now. In the future, what will bring that, let's say, the head is growing from when it comes out of the womb, and it grows to a level that his brain could facilitate his understanding, and then to hold as much as he can. But when it grows, when the brain grows, when he reaches a maturity of the brain, then the brain is able to, then this chayos, this energy that's affecting individual limb, individual sinew, and in this case the brain, that will go full force based on the determined growth, the growth rate of that limb. However, in contrast to the other level of the kochos, which is the kochos haklali, so in that case it's not dependent on growth. It's not dependent on if it's going to be a smaller brain or a bigger brain. There's the same level of kochos that a person gets from the day he's born until the day that he closes his eyes. And this is what we're going to explain. These are the two levels. We see an example of a real life example. The misha sichle mocha, sichle shekli mocha, sichle gedulim, the zochim yasa. If the brain to understand things and is able to be meritorious, to soak up more, in the or sichle hu bevehirus. Charifus v'amukos yoser, in his depth of knowledge is on another plane. It's on a deeper level than any others. So the chayus kololi ena nimshich me'elam malaki. So that brain has to get a level of revelation that wasn't there. For it to grow, it's bringing from Helen, from nothing, from something that is hidden to something that is revealed. However, compared to the second level of the Chayas Kloli, it's not drawn out from hidden to revelation, nefesh of the soul. It's not something that could be revealed. Not only that is it not revealed, it's not dependent on any other factors. Let's say the growth of the person. It's the same, it's equal to the person from Mishar Rishona, from the day number 1 at Shachar until his final breath. This is what a person grows out in the year. So what's happening with the strength that he had from when he was a child? That his strength becomes more vitalized and the stronger throughout the ages. Like it says, 30 years old is for strength. That's the time that the person is in the choosiest of years. So too, through eating, how could a person grow faint? Every day, if he has this level of strength that's in him from the day he's born, how could a person feel so faint? Because he didn't eat. By eating, he's mischazek koch adam. He's able to revitalize himself and to really bring out what was there before. The chizuk zehu me'achayis kloli. This is from the level of the chayis kloli. This is from the generality of the strength of the soul. Sharei hu chizuk hachayis b'kol kochos kloli. So since he's strengthening his kochas, and when he goes to work, and he's working on his body to be stronger. So in that case, it's not a new thing that was revealed. It's the same energy being fortified and stronger even more from the same strength that it was before. Now the Friedrich Rebbe is going to make a twist over here. Be'emes, hine zeh ma shechayis kol miskasher, yoser be'haguf, ein zeh ma she'ozer chayis miskala yoser nefesh. This, the chayis, this strength, the generality of the strength that's connected to more seemingly to the body than the individualistic strength. But it's not what it was, that the strength was revealed more. It's not that there was a supply, and then you revealed more supplies underneath that supplies, or adding more faucets to the sink. This is the general rule. The or ve'hanefesh lahachios hu tmidi b'shove. Since this is what we have to know, that the light of the soul, the strength of the soul to give, to make life, to the vitality, hu tmidi b'shove. It's always there. It's constantly there, giving him life force. Rak shal de gidul chizuk haguf. But through him growing and strengthening his body, so this strength that he has becomes more connected into the guf. It becomes more into the guf. It's not that the guf it's going into each individual. It's this generality there. The same generality is always there. But over there, it's making the guf to be stronger, because this strength is becoming stronger in a level, not that it's revealing things that wasn't there. It was always there. Just like using the muscle, so the more you use it, the more it gets stronger. What happened? Is there a new revelation? Did you have a new arm that you got? No, it's the same arm. But what is happening? The strength is revitalizing it. So too, with this eating and growing, the growth is just flexing, so to say, the muscle of the growth, for it to constantly continue growing, which it is continuing. Nothing stops it until a person closes his eyes. And this we could see the difference between chayus shebekochos and chayus kloli. Now, what does it mean chayus kochos, and what does it mean chayus kloli? The chayus shebekochos, which means the individualistic, and contrasted to the generalistic. When let's give an example. Let's say my feet grow. I used to be on 4 feet, and I went to 5 feet, and so on. So what happened? The growth was revealing something that was hidden. It was revealing the potential I had to grow to 5. When I'm 4 feet, that potential I have is 4 feet, is potential to grow to 5 feet. And when I grow to 5 feet, then the potential is actualized. The helem to the gilui, the concealment to revelation. It's not the idea of connection. Even in his galus, there's a difference between connection and revelation. Iskashrus is connection. Revelation means that it was always there. When you want to connect to somebody, you have to speak to them and make a relation. So what are you doing when you're doing that? You're making iskashrus. You're making iskashrus. But if you're speaking to your father or somebody who you have a connection inherently with, so then you're revealing the connection you had. It's really not a connection. It's not a connection that wouldn't be there. It's a connection that's there either way. And you have to reveal that potential, that connection that you have. In the beginning, the strength is hidden. Then by revealing, by the limbs growing, which they themselves are the vessel for it to grow and to reveal the potential. Contrast to the chayes kloli, the generality of the strength. By the growth and by the strengthening of the body, there's a connection. It's not a revelation, there's a connection in the goof. Which is in the whole goof. If I were to say you're 50 years old, which part of you is 50? All of it is 50. Not your finger is 50. Not your head is 50. Not your beard is 50. Your whole body, your whole existence, your whole quality, the generality of who you are is an existence of 50. So now we could take this example, which we explained about the potential to reveal and the connection to connect when it comes to the Atzilus, when it comes to the higher realms, when it comes to godliness, we can understand. We can understand from this. The Atzilus who has Galus Kochu HaKchamus V'atchum Ba'oren Sof HaMatzel She'eses Riz the Atzilus Kalulim V'chinas Kole Omen Oval Mehelim Melagili V'agdolas Kelim. That Atzilus is there like the growth, the potential to grow. From Oren Sof all the way to the Sephiros, from the level of Kuleom, and then they go from the revelation from hiddenness. They take the hiddenness and reveal it through the vessels. What are the vessels? These are the worlds. These are the spheres. Parts of Zoh, Netzah B'Sayt Shirish Ksavis. These are the levels of Zoh that's going to from the source of the 6 directions. And the level of growth, the level of maturity, so to speak, is from the Zoh all the way to draw it down to Zoh. Take it all the way down from to Zoh. From Atzilus. With Spheres HaMalchus, and what's the last level of the spheres? That's Malchus. Malchus is Netzla B'Shod Shorshan the Kud Achas Hainu Kli Echad Mizgalim Nasa B'China Esa Spheres. And then from the Spheres HaMalchus, from Zoh to Malchus, then you have the dot, the Nekuda, that grows to give into 10 attributes. They call it the Eser Spheres. So to when it comes to rectifying the vessels, it's not that it's being a new vessel, but that vessel is growing in order that it could stretch over and open up its hand to accept the light. Therefore, the light is shining more than how it was hidden. But that is all in the level of Memali Kolamim. like the vessels and the sinews that are stretching, that are growing throughout its lifetime. Avol be'ora soviv kolomen, but the level of the light of soviv, which is to surround, which is said the generality, and the shaykh lomerkin. You can't say that. Why can't you say that? The ora soviv kolomen, when it comes to the light, and the nimtza kol be'hahelim, it's not included in any hiddenness. It's not drawn from hiddenness to be revealed. And it's not only that, it's not dependent on the growth. That tikkun kelim and the growth of the kelim, the rectification of the vessels. What's the reason of this? Very simple. The Friedrich Rebbe says there's a difference between the light that comes from Male, Memale, and there's a light that comes from Soviv. What's the difference? The Or HaMalakolom, who Or HaNivda, something that is into vessels, into something tailor-made, that everything is exactly fitted for that vessel. In that case, it's disconnected, in a sense. It's disconnected from that. Not that there's a disconnection, a literal disconnection. But you cannot reveal Atzmos if it's, so to speak, separated from how it is, even though it's not separated. But the way how it's given down is that it's only in this thing. Atzmos is not limited to something. The story of Zalman Moshe, that someone asked him to explain Atzmos, explain the essence of God, and he said, "You can't explain." Yeah, I said, "Please explain." So he opened his mouth to start explaining. The man gave him a smack on his face, and he said, "That's Atzmos. This is Atzmos. You can't reveal it. Doesn't go into something. It doesn't go into a channel." And so Koloma, but actually Atzmos does good. So therefore we don't talk about where it goes. And the light of the Soviv Koloma, who gilu is Pashas Atzmos. Soviv Koloma, the encompassing the generality, is the revelation, but not only the revelation, the way to give over the revelation of Atzmos. Asher. Okay, now when it comes to Mamalik Olamim, there's this level of definitive, something that is an existence, something that is a thing of itself, so to speak. And since there is an aspect of it being its own existence, so there we can say, the level of Memale Kolomim, that there has to be an inclusion with the Atzmos. It wants to be included with it. It wants to go back to its source. And even in its source, it is a Metzias. This is one of the things of the anomalies of Chassidus, that even in the source, there is a sense of existence. There's a sense of one thing that thinks it's existing. Because everything that God does is unlimited, and therefore there could be a potential of limited. There is a potential of limited in the unlimited to be limited. But the oil of the Soviv Kolomim, the surrounding, since that is just the revelation of Atzmos, what is Soviv? You can never grasp Soviv. You never chap it. It's nothing of existence of itself. It's nothing. So therefore, you cannot be any sense of to be included into something, since that's what it is. Since that after this, it's not any existence of itself. That you could say on that, that thing becomes included with the atzmos. What is there to include? It itself is nothing. It itself is a level higher than existence. The Hainu, K'moi Shubia Atzmos, Eine Beinin Zeh. Hainu in Yinachev Legamri. Since when it's in the Atzmos, it's not even in Atzmos. It's a different concept completely. There's a different thing of it. And so how do we explain this? We can understand it. Let's go back to the Mashal and we'll explain it. When it comes to the soul, to the powers of the soul, and the revelations of the soul, what's the difference of a willpower and the power of the soul? You would think, no difference. What's the difference? The soul has a power, and the willpower also has a power. Just like the soul has unlimited kind of generality, so too the Ratzon also is a different than the level of the soul. So now he says, no, it's not true. Even though that we said about that the Ratzon, this willpower, even though it's a level of potential, it's not the actual etzem, it cannot be the essence of something. You cannot say this is what it is. Where's my willpower? It's in my heart or in my head. There is no such thing when it comes to willpower. Willpower is something that's higher than everything. Nevertheless, this is the key word, that the Ratzon is not a koach of the soul. However, it is a gilui of the soul. It's not a koach, it's not a potential, it's not an energy of the soul. Rather, it's the revelation of that potential of the soul. The ECHBRECH Gadol, since there's a big difference, ben koach hagilui, ben koach legilui. What's the difference between koach and gilui? Koach means the strength, gilui means the revelation. And koach uprati, the strength is individualistic. Even though that the strength that you have is a spiritual strength, you don't see strength. Nevertheless, it's in an individual thing. For example, in a body, in one arm, for the muscles, you're able to see if a person is strong. The kli prati, and he has a kli. This you could look and see, is this vessel strong enough? Vigilui. However, revelation is not something you could see. It's not something that's individualistic. And there's no such thing that it could go into the including and so to speak, dressing up in that limb. Prati. Therefore, when it comes to the potential of the soul, which are individualistic, therefore, in that case, you say there's a metzius. In that case, you say that there's an existence of itself, and therefore it falls into them the inyan of iskaludos, which means that I want to be included into my source. And also in this source of bechinas metzius, there's also a level of existence in their source. Just like when it comes to into the brain, you have chachma, the wisdom, and bina, the potential, the understanding of the wisdom. Even though that they are both a intellectual thing, and they are in the level of the brain, and they are different levels of the brain. But nevertheless, there's a difference between the Chachma and Bina. What's the difference between Chachma and Bina? Chachma in Nakuda, Chachma is a dot of Kachabina who marchav. And the Kachabina is like the raging river. It's not a dot, it's just moving and moving. It's like a merchav. It's like a line. But when they're in their source, they are the level of Atzmi, since it's technically, if you put them in your brain, if you have Chachma and Bina in your brain without even using them, what are they? They're a level of Atzmi. Because the potential of this wisdom that you have, the Chachma, which is Nakuda by itself, it's an Atzmi, it's essence in itself. The Kachabina who merchav atzmi, and Kachabina is also merchav atzmi. It's also a level of raging river, but that's the essence of it. This is very different. The willpower, hagav shu koach hu gilu nefesh. Okay, granted that it's a type of potential, it's a type of revelation of the soul. However, it's not a existence of its own. There is no such thing as the willpower having to join to another willpower, having to join to the higher level. Why? Which means the if you were to take the ratzon, the willpower, which in the essence of the soul, there is no such thing as this ratzon, willpower, at all in the atzon. So much more so when it comes to the potential of the actual strength of the generalistic strength. Animshich ben nefesh that are drawn from this soul. Shugili nefesh is the revelation of the soul. Ben koach ben nefesh. It's not the potential from the soul. And this is the differences between the two levels of chayos that are drawn from the soul. The chayos, kochos, the bottom line, what are we saying? The chayos, two things. Chayos, kochos, and metzias. That the chayos, the strength of the potential, is an actual metzias. It's in its essence of its metzias. V'yeshna kamoshu ba'olamai. And it is there, just like it was hidden. But the ratzon, the chayos kloli, but the willpower and the chayos kloli, which is the external, the generalistic chayos, and gili hanefesh, the revelation of the soul. Ve'ena madayim v'chinas metzias, but they're not a level, however, in a level of metzias, of existence. To be found in the hiddenness. Why can't they find them? Why can't you find the ratzon? And why can't you find the koch of klali, kochas klali in the helam? Because in the helam, hainu kumoshu behelam, and in the acher legamri. So in the helam, in the hiddenness itself, they are something else in itself.